you. I'm opening with CJ on you at AC.
Only thing that's on my mind is who's gonna run this town tonight.
Play of the game in regulation. It is caught by Dyson. Can he get in? No, he cannot.
Town tonight.
Yeah, I said it, we are. This is Rock Nation. Pledge your allegiance.
Probably wherever you hid the peppermints.
Look, the peppermints. The peppermints.
Wherever you hid the peppermints. Here tonight on the goal line stand, AC forgot to, put himself on mute there for a second. As always, it's the usual cast of characters here, plus a new character has joined the equation in Curtis. He's going to be a little special guest today. Probably talk a little bit about the New York Jets from a Jets fan's perspective, which, to be honest with you, Curtis, no offense, I didn't realize the Jets still had fans. Come on, man. Come on. I'm Josh with you. I'm a commander. Kenyon, we'll hear about the Browns later. Okay.
We're doing good.
I already told AC that we were going to open the show with talking about CJ Stroud, much to Devion's pleasure, but not to AC.
Nobody cares
obviously.
about the Browns. Stop it.
Hey. Did y'all win this week? Did y'all win this week?
Oh,
Doesn't
here
matter
it
in
goes.
the grand scheme of things.
Fully. I don't
Y'all still lose. Deshaun Watson robbed y'all. Y'all still
Hey.
lose.
We figured it out. A dub is a dub. Is a dub is a dub.
Mm-mm.
Come on now. Yeah.
All I know is I need to still get my props for what I did for Kenyon last week.
Man, I'm gonna send you the link to the Browns GoFundMe page. Trying to get that money back.
As you can tell, there was a crazy week of football. I mean, for some reason, the NFL decided to put KC, Philadelphia, the Rams, and Miami all on a bye week the same week. I don't understand why you do that, but whatever. The start of the week and the end of the week were, on paper, didn't look really that good. Start of the week definitely was not. Sunday night was not. Monday night actually ended up being pretty good. We're going to start with the Bills. I think everybody here that watches the NFL has got questions about the Bills. Today, they fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. I don't put it past you, Alex. I don't put it past you. I'm sure Justin's got something to say about them too. But the AFC East as a whole right now is kind of upside down. And Curtis, you have to wonder about your Jets if Aaron Rodgers hadn't got hurt in week 1, where they would be in this division right now. Because let's face it, the Bills are kind of Miami can't seem to be the team with a winning record.
No, I don't think anybody really saw
You know
the
what I
Bills
mean? And
being
New
so
England
bad
is-
on defense. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I know you
Well,
ripping open old wounds about Aaron Rodgers though. So, yeah, no, I don't think. I think the division was up for grabs.
Well, I'm not trying to open up the old wounds about the Aaron Rodgers thing. I just wonder, as from a Jets perspective, obviously we all would expect that this offense would probably be a lot better in general with Aaron Rodgers. But at the same time, there's still questions though, man. Like there's still questions.
Really
about
bad
that
offensive
you guys don't
line.
have a true wide receiver too.
And you got a really bad offensive line and some questionable play calling on offense too. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think Aaron Rodgers would have been pointing fingers at the side. Aaron Rodgers is a big finger pointer. Just because he came to the Jets don't mean that I have to like automatically love him. You know what I mean? He's a big finger pointer, so he would have been pointing fingers at every mistake made. because he's smart enough to do that though too. You know what I mean? Like he knows a better call that could have came. He would have seen and made some reads that Zach Wilson's not. But I really don't think the Jets would have been obviously 3 weeks and one touchdown in 3 weeks. You know what I mean? We wouldn't have had that happening. You know what I mean? So especially with the Bills collapse on defense and Miami, like you said, not being able to beat any team that's playoff bound. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I just wanted to bring that up right quick, and we will talk a little bit about the Jets game against the Raiders here as well, coming out of the week and what we can see moving forward. But AC, you mentioned that you supposedly have the answers when it comes to Buffalo. What's your thought process on this, and was it the right move to fire offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey?
I mean, sometimes I think they always confuse movement with progress. They had to make some type of move. Unfortunately, he's the casualty of a bad situation. His quarterback play is not good. And if you spin back to when before Stephon Diggs got there, Josh Allen was playing more so in the Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert range rather than the Patrick Mahomes and the Lamar Jackson range, the Aaron Rodgers range, and things of that nature. So I feel like until they fix the problem, like I just hate when coaches get blamed for poor play. Like he turns the ball over, regardless of the situation, regardless of what happened. Like, do I make excuses for receivers dropping balls? I don't, definitely don't. But could you help him out? He's crossing the middle. You could give him a little easier of a ball to handle. And I feel like point guards and quarterbacks are similar. Know your personnel. If Gabe Davis is not a guy that you know is short-handed, why are you throwing a strike to him across the middle instead of getting him a ball that's manageable? He could have easily did that. We get the first down. We keep the sticks moving. You threw him something hot. He didn't catch it. He is a pro. He gets paid to do that, and now we're in a different situation. But I think Josh Allen's confidence is waning, and it's only going to get worse. There was a play really late in the game, if y'all watched it, where he ran a touchdown in. And Dalton Kincaid was open right off of the play, and he didn't throw it to him. Instead, he ran in. I think that shows a lack of confidence in your ability because you don't want to turn the ball over again. Because he barely made it in the end zone. So it's kind of like now you're taking harder plays instead of taking what's there for you. And I think that's going to hurt them in the long run.
And Justin, as a quarterback, and this might hurt you a little bit when I say this, because this is something that I've always felt very strongly about, and you're a fan of this particular person that I'm gonna mention here. But Josh Allen kind of reminds me more of a modern day Brett Favre, because I mentioned it to you before as far as like Brett Favre's gunslinging ability, but he turned the ball over a lot. It was just back then it was a lot more patient, because Josh Allen does do some good things. It's just not as frequently as I think the Bills would like, Bills fans would like, NFL fans would like. And back in the day, Brett got that long leash. Josh's leash is starting to get a lot shorter and a lot smaller of a time, but they kind of remind me a little bit of each other.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, I would completely agree with you on that one too. He's very, very similar to Brett Favre. But I've said this about Josh Allen even before I was on this show and all that. He's a guy, or one of the very few guys in the league, that can go out and make these mistakes, or make the multitude of mistakes that he makes, but still somehow find a way out of it and come out with a win. Now, granted, you're playing a 3-5, now 4-5 Denver Broncos team where maybe a couple more mistakes. I mean, in reality, the entire offense, fumble on the first offensive snap for them, 3 catchable drop passes on third down in the first half that killed drives. You look at 2 interceptions. Obviously, one tipped off of a receiver's hands, and I completely agree with AC. You got KYP, know your personnel. You can't bullet things into every single receiver. Now that's Josh Allen's game. Again, very similar to Brett Favre. A lot of Favre's receivers talked about, hey, like his balls hurt our hands. Like you got to be able to learn how to throw with some loft here. But then obviously you look at the quarterback running back exchange that was fumbled in the third quarter. And then obviously then a team error of the 12 men on the field and the field goal block that ended up ending the game. But it was just a very kind of sloppy game. But at the end of the day, they were still in it. And so Josh is one of the few dudes that can do that in the league. So I don't necessarily think his leash is shorter. But if this team truly wants to be a Super Bowl contender, not just someone who they throw in with the Kansas City Chiefs of the world or the Cincinnati Bengals of the world, you have to be able to clean up some of this play. And this reminds me a lot of the conversation that I was having about Dak Prescott last year, or even the year before, where you're making too many errors, you're making too many turnovers, and it's hurting your team. And it may not hurt you in the regular season, similar to the Baltimore Ravens. You may be able to get through the regular season, get to the playoffs, but come postseason, that's not going to win you a Super Bowl. So there's things that have to be cleaned up, and firing your offensive coordinator is one of those things that he's the scapegoat to a situation. I think Sean McDermott is looking at this and starting to panic, and that's just the panic move that the Bills had to make. And at the end of the day, it's still a player that's making the mistake, or it's the offense as a whole, which again are players making mistakes that a coach has to unfortunately be the scapegoat for it.
Yeah. Kenyon, at the end of last year, one of my critiques about the Buffalo Bills, especially in that playoff game, was the interior offensive line and the interior defensive line being really, really weak and not being able to stop anything coming directly at them, whether it's up the middle on the offense and up the gut on defense. I don't see any changes there. Do you see anything that's any kind of improvement of any sort? Because it felt like any play that they had was kind of like on the perimeter last night.
See, I wanna give them the benefit of the doubt and say slightly, not even like a full yes, because I can truthfully kind of see that they tried. You know, they gave it a good old college try, but it's not working. So it's such a crazy situation with their offensive line / defensive line. It's almost sickening. But hey, sudden change.
Yeah, no doubt. Curtis, as a Jets fan, you must be loving this, even though nobody predicted this. But what's your take on the Buffalo situation, man? And where do you see them moving forward here?
Man, I gotta let you know I have no hate towards the Buffalo Bills at all. It's just the Patriots. That's it. But I actually like Josh Allen. Similar to like what Justin, I actually like to think of like Josh Allen as like a faster Ben Roethlisberger that didn't play for the Steelers. You know what I mean? Like you remember how Big Ben kind of was, people couldn't tackle him when he was his first couple of years in the league, but he had the Steelers and he had that coach, and he had that defense. And I think that Buffalo's defense was pretty stout, and I think they have a lot of injuries this year. And obviously it's affected their play. Obviously they still can't really, Cook had a good game, but they still don't know how to utilize Cook the right way, in my opinion. They really haven't really known how to utilize a running back since they got Josh Allen. I understand that's a style of play, but obviously you saw what happened with Cam Newton, another player that's Josh Allen is very similar to. At the end of Cam Newton's career, him running like that, he couldn't throw the ball no more. Obviously, I don't think Josh Allen, he has a way better arm than Cam Newton did, but he's also not as effective as a runner as Cam Newton was. So I think that Josh Allen is going to have to I don't know. His 6th year in the league now? I think that he's at that point of his career now where he's going to have to take a step in the right direction into just like figuring out what he wants to be as a player to better help his team win versus I'm going to go out there and throw 4 interceptions perhaps, and then maybe we can turn it around in the fourth quarter. Like, that's not always going to work, and they're not always going to have the assets around him. I know Stephon Diggs is already, saying he wants out of the team, or he didn't say that, but it's bound to happen.
We all know who
Travion
Stephon Diggs is as a human being. When things aren't going well, he's going to want out.
Yeah, Trayvon Diggs definitely said something though. That's for sure. Yeah, no doubt. Hey, Chris, my man, I'm gonna say right in the AFC East, man. We're gonna talk. We're not talking Bills with you. We need to talk about your Patriots.
We'll get into that. Let's just wait. Okay. So
we'll get into that. Okay, all right.
Yeah. I need some time to decompress. I have a lot to say, but no, Josh Allen. I mean, the interceptions have obviously been a problem, right? No one can deny that. I'm happy they fired Ken Dorsey, and I'm looking at other options as offensive coordinators, going into next season. I know this season, they hired Joe Brady to replace him. I thought Joe Brady did a great job last year at the interim, 2 years ago at the interim OC in Carolina. But overall, I think that they need to look for an offensive-minded coach. Now, Chip Kelly is going to be available real soon, so maybe he could be an option to throw in as an offensive coordinator. Chip Kelly is a very offensive-minded coach. Jimbo Fisher from college, maybe you could grab him. There's so many different options. You have to open your doors, right? You have to be open to new ideas. That's what football is. And at the end of the day, I'm looking forward to seeing how this offense is going to look, with Josh calling the shots. I think Josh and Joe are going to have great chemistry. I saw what Joe Brady did with P.J. Walker, man. He made P.J. Walker look real good out there. So it's going to be exciting to watch. But, look, Josh has had a rough season interceptions-wise, but that doesn't take away for how good of a quarterback he is, on the ground. And I'd rather a quarterback that throws a high volume of touchdowns than a high volume of picks, but wins me games. If he's going out there throwing 40 touchdowns, 27 picks, as long as we're getting the job done. But right now, they're not getting the job done.
I gotta call BS on that though, Christian. I apologize if I'm having any kind of audio issues. You just got done telling us last week that Jameis Winston is absolute dog shit because of just
30-30.
whatever. 30 and 30, man. Like, now you're telling me that it was okay. Like, you forget that the Saints almost made the playoffs that year, man. Like,
no, but it's just
The Bucks.
Bucks.
The Bucks. Yeah, sorry, that's right. The Bucks. That's right. It was the Bucks that year.
If you have a quarterback that can give you rushing upside, right? If you have a quarterback that can scramble outside the pocket, make plays with their legs, you don't necessarily need them to be the greatest passer. And Josh has a great arm. He's a generational talent. I mean, look what he did in junior college. Look at the numbers he put up there. I mean, he was one of the all-time staples at junior college. And, I'm really enjoying watching Josh. Being a Cam Newton fan, Cam Newton, man. I don't call many people Jesus Christ. Cam Newton is Jesus Christ. So
oh my God. Okay.
I'll push back against Chris real quick. Let me push back against Chris real quick.
Everybody needs to push back against Chris.
You cannot say that because he's not winning you games. He doesn't have playoff wins. He's not in the Cam Newton discussion. He's not an MVP quarterback. He's not going to. He hasn't been to the Super Bowl. Like you said, this is his 6th season. So at what point? It's the same thing we said about Lamar Jackson. Eventually, they become statistical guys with no wins. So we want him to be a good quarterback because he's putting good stats out there, but the only stat that matters are the wins and the losses, and that is not what he's doing. He's not accomplishing that.
There's a lot of talk. We talk a lot, obviously, about the players need to make plays, and the coaches, don't make the plays for the players on the field. But I also still think that there's an important role when it comes to coaches, because after Brian Daboll left, it's been a 2-year slide now for Josh Allen, and I really truly believe that when you click with somebody and you get in the right situation with somebody, especially as a coach, you really start. And I feel like that Brian Daboll's moving on to the Giants has really hurt Josh Allen in his development, in his progress. I will say that much.
Yeah, and I completely agree that too. Whenever you click with a coach, especially when a quarterback and coach click, you can see what truly happens with the team, and that moves forward. I mean, you see this not to the same extreme level, but you see this with Patrick Mahomes and Eric Bieniemy with the split there this season. I mean, and you look at what Daboll has done since leaving. Now, obviously, this year with the Giants, that's completely different. But, I mean, you look at what he did last year with Daniel Jones. He helped turn Daniel Jones from a turnover machine into a capable quarterback that got a contract extension. So I think there is some truth to that because, again, coaches still need to put players in the best situation and make players feel comfortable so that they can go out and play their best. But at the same time, at the end of the day, there's roles that coaches have and there's roles that players have. And yeah, it's always a two-way street on what the issue truly is. But no, players still got to go out and make plays. And there's some issues right now with Josh Allen. There's some issues right now with the Buffalo Bills. And I've heard the conversation on ESPN and CBS and all these others talking about the defensive injuries they have. That's part of the reason why they're 5-5. They've lost so many great defensive players. They've had injuries to their team. But then again, like, okay, as a Viking fan myself, okay, the Vikings have had so many injuries. When they were healthy, they were losing games. Now they're 6-4, and they've just lost one of their better linebackers for the rest of the year. And I mean, you look at other teams that are making like I can't even remember the team now, but there was I believe it was the Houston Texans with 20-plus players on the injured list for this game this Sunday, and then you still see them go out and beat Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Can you not?
But that's more to hammer home my point of saying it's the NFL. It's any given Sunday, but a team as talented as the Buffalo Bills still needs to go out and win, especially against the Denver Broncos team that, although they're improving, I think any Buffalo Bills fan looking into Monday Night Football said, hey, that's a win for us with this tough stretch of a schedule coming up.
I think anybody was looking at that Monday night game saying that was a win for them, to be honest with you. I mean, Denver, even though they put a stomping on Kansas City, you know, there's really been nothing there with Denver to suggest that this was going to be anything other than a one-win, you know, a one-time off thing with the Kansas City victory. So there was really nothing there to think that this is what this was going to be. You know, Debian, we haven't heard from you yet, man. I want to touch base with you real quick, primarily because we've talked a lot about the Buffalo Bills, but is there anything in the AFC East that you see that can recommend that Buffalo might be able to rectify this and turn this around and maybe still find a way to win this division?
I believe you're just looking at a giant. You're basically looking at a quarterback that has been always compared to, you know, neck and neck with Patrick Mahomes. So you're just looking at a situation to where you see a team that's now going 5-5. I would say you can't see a team like that or a quarterback like that lose that many games, because then you begin to question, is it the quarterback or is it a team problem? So you have injuries and stuff that plays a factor in that also, but I don't see it being a further issue. It's maybe just something going on in the program right now.
Yeah, no doubt. I want to switch gears real quick. I want to change it up because I don't want to talk about some teams that we already have on the panel today. I do want to talk, though, maybe not to Justin's favorite here, but I want to talk about the Detroit Lions, guys. I want to talk about these Lions, man, because this is not the Detroit Lions that we grew up with. For some of you older, I mean, I don't know, I'm old, so yep. I'm the oldest one on the panel, I think. So it's not the Detroit Lions I grew up with anyway.
These are not the Detroit Lions of the last 30 years.
Yeah. Man, that game against the Chargers, man, and the Chargers showed in that game too that this is a team that can win if they actually have competent coaching. And still somehow they ended up finding a way to lose. I mean, I don't know who wants to take the reins on this one, but somebody can go ahead and say what they want about the Lions, man. I just want to talk about them because they're a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I mean, as an NFC North guy, now half NFC North, half NFC South guy, obviously based on the shirt I'm wearing. I mean, the Lions have – I mean, obviously you have the quote-unquote defensive head coach, even though he's not really a defensive head coach. And you have, like, your players coach and Dan Campbell. But no, what they're doing offensively is one of the most creative offenses in the NFL right now. They're extremely hard to stop because of the different combinations of things that they have, from Montgomery to Gibbs to Amon-Ra St. Brown to Laporta at tight end. The list can kind of go on and on of what they can do and how they're scheming things up differently. I mean, and everybody knows with Jared Goff that he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in terms of passing out of the play action. And so being able to set up the amazing kind of run game schemes that they have going on and then be able to then sequence that with play action off of it. This offense is one of the best offenses in football, whether it's underrated or not. It's a very beautiful offense to watch. And when I'm sitting down here watching film and all that for my top 5 quarterback performances of the week, I just sit there and look at the Lions and I'm like, man, like this offense is firing on all cylinders. And I don't know why we don't talk about the Lions more other than the fact that they are the Lions. But no, I mean, you even look at how they closed the game out. I know Jared Goff was talking about in the post-game interviews how they knew their defense couldn't stop Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense. And so this game, I don't think is one of those like Brandon Staley sucks, needs to be fired. Chargers are terrible. They lost the game. Like, no, they.
Oh no, he still needs to be fired. He still needs to be fired.
Well, I think there's some things we can talk about with some rumors coming out about a certain head coach and GM in New England that might be heading over that way, according to some rumors that are swirling today. But no, I mean, you look at the Chargers you look at the Lions and how they closed out the game. They purposefully they purposely ran out the clock to kick the field goal, one to in a way guarantee the win, but they didn't want to give time to give the ball back to Justin Herbert. So the ability to close out games and then the ability to then go put 41 up on suspect Chargers defense, but to continue to respond and play really good offensive football whenever on the other side really good offensive football is being played too. It's something special to see. And then you kind of like I've seen some conversations of too. You have the debate of your player coach versus analytics coach in that game in terms of going forward on 4th down, the ability to go forward on 4th and 5 and trust your guys, and how that looks. That's a positive look compared to a going forward on 4th and 2 because analytics says so. We can get into that debate too if you want. But at the end of the day, this Lions offense is one of the best ones in football, and it as a quarterback, it's fun to watch.
Lions Super Bowl contender?
I think the defense has to get better. But hey, I mean, this offense, we've seen great offenses like the 2016 Atlanta Falcons and stuff like that make Super Bowl runs. So I'm not going to put it past them. But no, if they match up well with guys in the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised if they can get through the NFC.
AC Super Bowl contender? I think I heard you say no.
No.
No, Chris?
No, they're just a good team. Really good team.
No, the hype is too much. My Super Bowl winner right now are the Baltimore Ravens. So.
Okay, Kenyon, Super Bowl winner, contender?
No.
The Lions? No. No.
They don't give a good shot though.
Now, when they're playing the 49ers in the NFC Championship, we'll talk about this again.
The NFC is so weak right now. Really, you have the 49ers, the Lions. I don't want to say the Cowboys. You got the Eagles, obviously, but really, like besides the Eagles and the 49ers, I think the Lions are really the only team that will put up a fight, and I don't know how they match up. I mean, Baltimore came through and beat the crap out of them. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that game was an anomaly or if that was like, hey, if anybody's going to play smash mouth football because the 49ers, if that's the way they react to somebody playing tough against them, I don't think they have a chance against the 49ers in the playoffs. But Super Bowl contenders, because the NFC North is theirs. And, I think that the NFC is so weak that they're going to have maybe a top 2 or top 3 seed, I'd say. We'll see how the rest of the season pans out.
Yeah, for sure. Debbie, on Super Bowl contender for the Lions or not?
I don't see them going to the Super Bowl, but I definitely see them giving somebody a run for their money and chances to get there. But I don't see them to get into the Super Bowl for sure. Not.
Well,
we should just start with the playoffs.
I'm on the upset train. I got him as a Super Bowl contender. Yeah. AC.
I like the Lions for sure.
You've got a quarterback that's been there before.
Hey, Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs is starting to get more involved. That defense is starting to get together. I do agree that defense needs to tighten up a little bit, though. I do agree with that. So, AC, you said you wanted to mention something in the chat. I told you I'd give you the platform for the topic you wanted to discuss tonight. So, I'll let you go ahead with it, my man, and present it to everybody, man.
All right. So, basically, my question for the chat was in terms of what we do in sports. We do it in sports, but since we're just talking about football, is the issue with falling in love with the moment or being slaves to the moment versus consistency. And I'm glad we talked about the Lions because the reason I said they weren't a contender is because if you peel back the layers of the teams that play in the championship games, both NFC and AFC, they've been there before. You really have teams that are new to the scene. You know, it's normally about a 3-4 year ride, but more so with players. Like that's why honestly I was so against talking about CJ Stroud so much because I do think he's doing a great job. But when you peel back the layers, he's a rookie. NFL, AFL, CFL, no matter what it is, it's about game planning. You can't game plan against someone that you don't have film on.
Yep.
So if you are the caliber of a top 5 quarterback, you should be productive. You know what I mean? If you got the tools. Bryce Young happens to not have the tools. You know what I mean? But if you just peel back those, that's why I say like I think he's gonna have a finish out a great season. But I just want you guys' opinion on why, if you look at things, we always talk about, oh, this guy's the best guy now, this guy's the best guy now. Like how people are talking about the best receiver in the league. It's been Devontae Adams. So it's still Devontae Adams. That doesn't change. Who's doing the best versus who is the best should not change. Same thing with running back, same thing with line, whatever the case may be. You know, consistency will always prove to give you more than something that's a spur of the moment. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, consistency is definitely a top thing. Chris, I'll let you go here in a second. I just want to say I think Devontae Adams was the best wide receiver in football, but I think Justin Jefferson is the best. Anyways, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, so, consistency, right? When I look at consistency, it's like year after year. So let's start with arena football, right? Darius Prince, most consistent receiver in the game. No debate. So when I look at consistency, I'm looking at someone who shows up game after game, puts on a show, puts food on the table. Devontae Adams does that, right? Amon-Ra does that. CJ, he does that so far. But yeah, I mean, being a slave in the moment, it's like focusing on what he's doing now versus what he's going to do in the future. Yeah, he could digress. He probably will digress. I mean, no one's going to be playing at the level he's playing at, right, in the NFL. The defenses are going to figure him out. When Lamar won MVP the season after, he wasn't the same quarterback. People started to figure him out. Defense is game planning. But at every level of football, there's a different level of game planning. Like in arena football, I'm not talking about indoor football, so not the version that you guys play. In arena football, like AFL, Ironman, you can't game plan. There's no game planning on the offensive side. There's very little, if that. So every level of every sport has a different level of consistency, if you know what I mean. So I think that's why I agree with your point. Like, yeah, you have to kind of look at numbers from over it. That's why Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time, right? Because he did it after year after year after year. And he never slowed down. So if you don't, it's like bend or don't break,
Yeah, and the slave of the moment thing is accurate in both directions, whether it's positive or negative too. Because right now there's a lot of people harping on Trevor Lawrence, and to me, I think people forget that this is technically his sophomore year. I as much as I don't want to disregard, it is, Chris. You shake your head, but it is because the Urban Meyer era does not count. No. Don't even try to sit there and tell me that Urban Meyer is a coach.
Mac Jones is in his. Does that apply to Mac too?
Mac Jones has a lot of other issues that don't involve Urban Meyer. Like his other issues involve the fact that he's had 3 different offensive coordinators in the last 3 years. I mean, let's start there, for instance, for the Mac Jones situation. But Trevor Lawrence is getting a lot of harp right now on not being the guy because of whatever it may be. But it's like you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. They eventually were going to get that figured out underneath Doug Peterson, or teams are going to figure that out because they have film on it now. Like you guys were just saying. Yeah, there's going to be a slump. You get slumps constantly in the NFL. I mean, even Patrick Mahomes is in a slump this year. And what year is this? You know what I mean? Like, it's a slump. The numbers aren't that great. You know what I mean? So we are slave for the moment's correct. And I think there's a lot of overreactions going both ways. I just wanted to talk about CJ Stroud just because of what he's doing from a rookie's perspective and standpoint compared to what we've seen other rookie quarterbacks do. And especially when you break down the Houston Texans, that nobody expected this team to not be where they're at right now at this point in time, personally. But I agree
Mhm.
with you, AC. I think consistency is 100% a big thing, because otherwise, if you don't have that consistency, you end up with Kenny Galladay. Luckily, there's no Giants fans on the, on the
I
panel,
think
but
when you and also like the way the game has changed, like we talk about just in the analytics versus the football concept. The guys we grew up watching were pivotal guys for that franchise for at least a decade.
Yep.
We don't do that now. As soon as you cross 28, 29, 30, it's like, okay,
You're a journeyman at that point.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, guys don't retire there no more. You know what I'm saying? When you talk about the Brett Favres, like you said, the Troy Aikmans, the Emmitt Smiths, the Barry Sanders, the Calvin Johnsons, those type of guys are known for being at that specific place. Brett Favre doing what he did, nobody knows him for as a Jet or a Viking. He's known as a Packer, you know. But now we get so, and I mean, you can get into the contractual aspect of it as well. But guys, it's like we get so bored with consistency across the spectrum of sports.
Yeah.
You can't just be dominant for a long time. You know what I mean? Like if you talk about coaches, to me the best coach in the NFL is still Mike Tomlin. How could he not be? He's never had a losing record.
especially this year.
Yeah, like he's never had a losing record, and he's been in the playoff race every single season, if not in the playoffs every single season. No matter who's doing great right now, I mean, but we would never give Mike Tomlin Coach of the Year 5 years straight. You know what I mean? But that's the difference
it's expected from him.
Yeah, exactly.
Nine games, the Pittsburgh Steelers have been outgained on yardage, and it's the first time ever that's ever happened, and they have a winning record. Go ahead, Curtis.
Yeah, like about consistency, you basically like. I'm a big fantasy football guy, but I think that a lot of people have blurred the lines with fantasy football with real football and like what is really, really, really going on the field. And it's just people with hot takes on social media saying, "Oh, so and so is trash," or "So and so is the best right now." Like if you look at you were talking about, you have a span, so maybe every week there might be one guy that's the best receiver that week. But then you'll see these people writing these hot take articles saying, "Is this so and so the best receiver?" Now, I won't take away from CeeDee Lamb because CeeDee Lamb right now he's the hottest receiver in the league for the past 3 weeks. You know what I mean? What the numbers he's put up, it was an NFL record. But people are like, "Oh, is he the best receiver in the league right now?" He said he's the best, but he's supposed to say he's the best. And anybody that says, "Oh, I don't like these receivers with their bad attitudes," like any receiver is going to say, "I'm the best." They have to think that way. It's a position where you have to have that kind of mindset. He's obviously the best receiver the past 3 weeks. Is he the best receiver in the NFL? No, not. I don't. Is he top 10? Yeah, he is. But you know what I mean? Like, and then people will be like you had brought up Devontae Adams. People would be like, "Oh, Devontae Adams, he's a slump. He's ranked 20th in fantasy points," and it's like it's still Devontae Adams, man. You still got to give him that. You got to give him that respect. JJ, Jamar Chase. You know what I mean? Like, you got to get Keenan Allen. He's 32 years old and he's having a killer season. You know what I mean?
Mike Evans, he's going to have 1,000 again. That's going to be 11 straight years.
Yeah, 11 straight years.
Until he retires, he's top 5. He can't not be. 11 straight years? Like but that's boring. That's not, that's not intriguing. It's boring. Devontae, an 1,100 yard is a slump for Devontae. That's a career year for a lot of guys. You know what I mean?
That's a career year for Evans, pretty much.
Yeah.
For real.
I mean, a lot of I hate to say it about Mike Evans because he did do it. But if you look at his like 4 seasons where he just squeaked by with like 1,000,
just barely,
1,006,
just
1,007,
barely.
But he still got it.
Man, I thought, and also dealing with a guy like that, like you say, they double him for a reason, so to still be able to maintain. Like I think that's why CD to me cannot be in that echelon because he does most of his work in the slot. Like, and he gets a lot of empty calories. Like Devontae Smith, when they played head to head, Devontae Smith's one play he made was more substantial than any play that CeeDee Lamb made. It was 6 and it was a huge catch. CD had a lot of yards, but at the end of the day, what did it equate to? You know what I mean? Like that's what number 1 receivers do. That's the difference in him and a Dez Bryant. I'll take Dez Bryant 6 for 102 TDs any day. Then his 12 for like he's like a volume dude. It takes him 12 to get 120.
Yeah. That's the reason why statistics lie too. I mean, to be realistic with you, you got to take a look at situations, and you got to take a look at what a lot of it is. I think of Blake Bortles when he was with Jacksonville, and had all those great, that great season that he had, but it was coming back from behind because the defense, failed him, and he threw 58 times a game. So like. I think that's what happened with Allen Robinson. Like, no offense to Allen Robinson by any means, but what has he done since he left Jacksonville in those years? Like
Just stole money.
He stole money. Yeah, he's been the Brock Osweiler of wide receivers.
Mhm.
I mentioned it, Curtis. I didn't forget, man.
Well, he did. He did.
Leave
He
my
had
QB
1,000.
alone.
He had 1,000 in Chicago though, and they was terrible. So, I mean, I like Allen Robinson. I just think he does get caught up in that other stuff. Now, if you said the other one, what was it, Allen Hearns?
Alan Hearns, yeah, he was
Allen
another
Hurns.
one.
He's nowhere to be found. At
Well,
least Allen Robinson went to Chicago and did something.
I think he's still repairing his ankle from when he was
Didn't
in
Hearns go to the
Dallas.
Cowboys? Hearns
He
went
did,
to the
yeah.
Cowboys.
He
Yeah.
did.
Blew his ankle
Yeah, he
up,
did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was when they did a wide
Blew up.
receiver by committee right before they traded for Amari Cooper.
Yep.
But yeah, like
Oh,
about
Chris has got
the.
something.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I just had the light bulb on.
Oh
What?
no!
I know we were talking
Oh
about.
no!
Yeah, I know. No,
Oh,
hold on.
not Kendrick Bourne. Don't say nothing about Kendrick Bourne.
No. Former Pirate receiver, Terrence Williams. I thought, looking at his stats, he was pretty consistent throughout his NFL career. Am I wrong? 38 touchdowns?
You tired?
Yeah.
Does it get into your bedtime or something? Why are you saying this stuff?
What? No. 38 touchdowns? Are you telling me a guy that had 38 career touchdowns? I mean, that's
He
legit, man.
played 7 years.
Okay, so he's still putting up 5 to 6 touchdowns a year.
You do know it's 16 games, right?
I understand that.
5 to 6, pretty low.
I understand that, but it's hard.
And you do know there's now
Six.
17 too.
It's hard to find the end of the NFL.
You know, guys get that in a 3-game span, right?
I know, but like not everyone can be OJ. Like
OJ who?
Terrence Williams.
the running
Oh,
back,
what?
OJ Simpson.
Mayo or Simpson. They both ain't good mentions.
Like you can't expect everyone to go out there and put up. I mean, being a wide receiver 2, 3 that he put up numbers, man. He was a baller. Admit that, right?
Terrence Williams was Kendrick Bourne before Kendrick Bourne.
38
Man.
career touchdowns. Being a wide receiver 3.
I mean,
Hey,
I know he played for the Pirates, so you gotta show him some love, dog. But come on, man. What did he do for the Pirates?
Played
Well,
one game.
No, he actually played 5 games and he had a mental breakdown.
Oh.
We're not going to get into that. The
You know
point
why he
is,
had a mental breakdown? Because he like, damn, bro, I played for the Pirates and I still ain't scoring.
38 career touchdowns.
hey, it's easy to score.
We
It's
lost.
easy
We
to
lost
score.
Kenyon.
38 career touchdowns, man. You can't.
I
As a wide
understand.
receiver,
Boy, I swear to God.
I
He
understand
had
what you're
that.
saying,
He had
right?
Des Bryant on the other
But-
side.
Hey, thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
exactly.
See, I ain't
So
gotta say it. He know. Deb know.
Yeah.
Curtis got it. Curtis.
And
knows
you
something.
forget that Ogletree and what's the other dude? Miles Austin went crazy, right? So why are
Miles
we talking
Austin,
about
that-
him?
That dude.
Why are we talking about him? Terrence Williams.
And then you
Nice
haven't
name
even
drop.
talked about Jason Witten at tight end too.
Yeah, Jason Witten at tight end.
but
And
what I'm trying
what's
to
the
say
short
is,
slot?
Oh
White
yeah,
dude.
Oh,
Beasley.
Cole Beasley.
yeah, Cole Beasley.
Cole
Beasley.
Beasley.
yeah, he was consistent too. He showed up to the
So
party.
he's a wide receiver 3,
Yeah, if you show up to the party, it
2.5.
doesn't play your role. You talk about consistency. Consistency, you play your role and you do it great. Terrence Williams was a pro at his role. That was his role. He showed up. You have to give him his flowers, man. 38 career touchdowns.
You know the IFL is considered pro too.
I understand that, but
So did he forget his role?
well, he was also wide receiver 3 when he came to the IFL. So
How do
Yeah,
you become
What?
wide receiver 3?
you have to. I mean, ask Devion. He's a rookie and no second year player in the indoor game, man. Like it's hard. It's hard to get adjusted. 50-yard fight, man. You got to get your body right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Isn't he like 6'3"?
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
He's a big
I
dude.
mean, 6'3" guys in indoor/arena, they get touchdowns just for being tall. So he could at least get one. I mean, you know I'm a Duck fan, right? Darren Carrington is doing his thing. So what's the excuse?
Yeah, hey, and see, that's a that's
No.
someone who takes their role, and is a wide receiver one in the IFL, and could be wide receiver one outdoors if you see the thing he does.
Chris,
Only
I'm trying to
Chris,
stay with you.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Only
to stay
Chris
with
is-
you.
Only Chris is going to bring a
Especially
Terrence
'cause you got a
Williams
Cobra hat on.
conversation
No.
to the forefront.
I'm
Like,
gonna kindly ask
He's
you
getting
to
a lot
not
of
wear
love
that
right
Cobra
now.
hat and say stuff
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
How
the
much
most-
is Terrence Williams paying you right now?
I
Like,
was
how
gonna
much
say, this
money's
is the
under
most-
the table that's going to be bet on like his like LFA stats next year?
Justin, I'm telling Coach he got this hat on talking his craziness. You
I
gotta take that
know.
off, G.
I haven't heard
Chris,
Terrence
man,
Williams'
killing
name
me.
since
And see, I haven't
2014.
even given my take on this whole consistency question and all that. We
I-
good. We
I was
way
just
off that
saying-
now.
Hey, let him keep going.
We way
Let him
off
keep
that
going.
now.
Let him keep going.
Consistency,
We
man.
just spent
I mean,
13.
Chris,
We just spent
Chris, let
13
me ask you a
minutes talking
question. Let
about
me ask you a
Terrence
question.
Williams, man. Like, come on.
I'm just
You
saying,
looking up his stats, right? You looking
I'm-
up his stats though, right?
I'm spinning fast, man. That's what I'm saying.
I want you to grab a fact for me. What was his highest career touchdowns in a season?
I'll take a look. I'll get back to you.
And while you're
I'm-
Google search and
I'm
while you're
pulling this
Google
up.
searching
I
that,
guarantee
I
you
want-
he has over 60 targets.
I'm pulling this up right now.
and while you're Google
he-
searching
he
that,
had
I
not-
want
he
to
had
know
like
how
90
many pesos is he handing you under the table when he's playing in the LFA next year, getting 40 catches for 175 yards and maybe one touchdown.
And the worst thing about it, I like Terrence Williams. I really
Yeah.
do.
I like him too.
Even
So-
from like their Baylor team was loaded.
So his
Loaded.
career stats. You ready for the career stats?
Yes.
He played for 6 years. Okay. He played in 83 games. He started in 68 of them. He has 232 receptions for 3,000 in his career for 3,377 yards.
That's solid right there.
He averages 14.6. He only has 20 touchdowns in his career,
I don't know why I got 38.
and he only cracked
in the,
5.
the
And he only
imaginary-
he only got higher than 5 once.
I'm done with Chris. How you get this man an extra 18 touchdowns?
I was looking at college stats. I was
And
looking at college stats. My bad. Same thing. But
And it wasn't from the playoffs either, because he only had 3 touchdowns in the playoffs, and they all came his rookie year.
You gave
So-
this
That was
man an
20.
extra
Was that
18
2014 was his
touch-
best year, right? Mike, 2014 was his best year.
His best year was. Let me pull it back up right quick. I backed out of
I'm
it.
not trying to say Michael Crabtree. Like, am I trying to defend Michael Crabtree? No. Like,
Yardage wise,
Whoa, now what
Yardage
about
wise-
Michael Crabtree?
yardage wise,
Come
it
on,
was
Crab. What about
2015. Curtis, 2015 yardage wise, he had 840 yards, and touchdown wise, it was 2014. He had 8 touchdowns that year. All right,
Yeah.
can we move off Terrence Williams? My God,
check will
20
be
minutes
sent in the
talking
mail.
about. Spent
Man.
20 minutes talking about Terrence Williams.
Hey,
Our viewers right now are
Terrence
like,
can play, but
yeah, I mean,
another 18 TDs? Like what?
Yeah, that's a bit
What is
wild.
happening over there, man?
Even comparing him to Mike Evans, there's not a comparison.
Man,
I'm
that's
not-
disrespectful.
Somebody did.
I don't smoke weed. I just want to make that clear. So everything
Are
I
you-
say,
Chris, you just learned what weed was like a month ago. All right, Justin.
What happened? Where did the conversation turn left?
Chris is sniffing paint thinner.
Why is
Christian
he
is hot
still
takes.
thinking?
Christian is hot takes.
Chris
bro.
over there is sniffing
Chris,
markers.
what you said?
while I'm at it, I have to add this. While I'm at it, this is
Oh,
totally
please do.
unrelated, but I've been
Please
thinking
do.
this is my last thing. James Harden hired a hitman to kill Kelly Oubre. That's my last.
Oh, jeez. Oh,
My last.
Okay.
NBA
Justin,
on an NFL show. Here we go.
yeah, that's Chris for you. That's Chris for you.
He gonna walk off with that one too.
Mic drop. Yep, mic drop. There you.
Yeah,
There
he,
you
he,
go,
I
he
can't-
dropped
I
it,
can't
threw
take
himself
that.
in the
Yeah.
audio.
He dropped the
Threw
mic
himself
on
in the
us.
audio.
I can't say. Have they announced where they're gonna play yet? The Pirates.
Yeah, they're in Lowell. They're going to be in lull. Justin, your consistency take. Let's get back on track here a little bit if we can. If you remember what you were going to say.
Yeah, I'll keep it short because I know we've added an extra 20 minutes for no reason. No, I completely agree with the whole consistency thing. The way our human nature is in a way we hate consistency because it's boring. It's what we come to expect. I'm a big Formula One fan outside of this. So you look at the 6-year domination, or excuse me, the 8-year domination of Mercedes, where Lewis Hamilton won 7 titles in 8 years or 9 years or whatever it was. It's the same way with that. Now you have Max Verstappen, who's my favorite driver, who's now dominating 3 consecutive world titles there. And people are starting to not like Formula One now because Max has won 17 of the 21 races and they have 2 to go. And it's just kind of how complacency is. But at the same time, you look at consistency of players, and how I break down film and how I break down football is I look at things per game. Now, there needs to be a nice balance of this guy has done it for this long and he continues to do it. He's still one of the top guys if you're ranking guys not of this week, kind of like how my quarterbacks are. Like I rank them per week only, not who's the best top 5 guys in the league overall. But you have to take what guys are doing now, because again, this is life too. It's what have you done for me lately? What have you done? What's the last thing you've done? You're as good as the last thing you've done. But there's also plenty of resumes and plenty of things that need to continually to be added on to that too. So I think there's a fine balance, and in the day and age that social media is king and hot takes are everywhere. Chris is on hot takes, but he's probably not even the worst in terms of hot takes, which is crazy to say. It's just the day and age that we live in, and consistency still needs to be added back into the factor. But no, I mean, I can't give you a true percentage of how much should it be 70% consistency and 30% what have you done for me lately? Or I don't know the magic number of that percentage there, but there needs to be taken into account a little bit of what have you done this week? What have you done over the past 3 weeks versus what have you done over the course of a 5, 6, 7, 10-year, 15-year career?
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with that wholeheartedly. Kenyon, do you have any thoughts here as far as like the consistency debate versus, the slave for the moment, as AC like to put it as?
He should. The Browns are consistently trash.
Why are you always coming at the Browns?
Because he's a Bengals fan.
Hold on. We finally doing good. We trying to progress in life. Trying to.
I told you, y'all sound like a battered woman.
Look here. We won this week. You didn't win this week. I don't care. A win is a win. So the Browns. I don't even want to get into the Browns. We're not getting into the Browns right now. But consistency will always, most likely beat out living in the moment. I mean, I feel like everything was said, but it's like, and then you got me started with the Browns. Like now I'm thinking about 30.
Yeah. AC threw them all off the track there with that.
Well, hey, if we want to talk about consistency, the Browns are the losers. They're the bottom feeders.
Look here.
So what are they doing now versus what have they always been?
We're winning. Even though it's 3 points, we're winning. That's all.
So hey, you're slave to the moment.
Slave to the moment.
What if I like the moment right now?
Y'all need a spirit animal.
We got that dog. We got that dog.
Isn't that elf?
That dog.
What's the elf?
You've got an elf. That. You've got a dog.
It's
you've got a football helmet.
No, what
else you got?
We got 2. It's the elf.
I got Jim.
Yep.
They got Jim.
You never know.
They have uniforms that are orange, even though their team name's the Browns. Makes total sense.
Look here, I don't even fully get behind the helmet. I feel like we could really rock out with one of the mascots, but hey, but I like the orange. I don't know where all of this slander is coming from. Like,
I'm
honest. Negative energy in this area. I don't think I like it.
I gotta ask you, Kenyon, as a Browns fan, are you a fan of the Brownie the elf in the middle of the field there?
Yes, actually, I love it.
You love the elf?
Yeah.
I'm
Did
actually
you?
a fan of it. It's one of my
What does
favorite
the
fields.
elf represent? I just
Well,
want to know what it's for.
Did you
I
put
used,
the
I
elf?
used to know the story.
Well, it's actually the old logo.
Yeah.
It was actually the old logo, like one of the first original logos of the Browns.
But it's like a
Did you
specific
name your
story.
shelf on a? Did you name your elf on a shelf, Brownie?
Hey, there's been a couple of brownie elves on the show.
All right, fair enough.
Sure, you for sure can get a couple brownie elves on the show.
You can take them off.
All right,
No,
we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna jump into.
Like
You ain't gotta
We're gonna jump
leave them
into.
there.
Matter of fact,
We're gonna jump
no.
I bet they was on sale though, wasn't they?
Oh, he disappeared. He
Mic
took
drop.
it off.
Mic drop.
Mic drop and he bounced just like Krish. All right, we're gonna jump into your favorite segment. I don't have the pictures in here, Justin. That's supposed to be Krish's thing, but he's gone, so I don't know what's going on with that. But
No, we've already talked about basically when we talk about the Patriots later. If Krish magically pops back up, because I could talk more about that to hammer home a fact of Mac Jones and the Patriots. But the whole stuff about Josh Allen, we've already talked about that. So we don't.
I got a feeling this next segment, Mac Jones will not make an appearance on.
There's a lot of things to take into account when you talk about being viewed as a top 5 quarterback. It's not a laundry list. This is a list that, you know, it has to be taken very seriously.
Yeah, so another week, another list of top 5 quarterbacks. I will say there until Monday Night Football, there were 9 guys fighting for 5 spots. And now you add in a 10th guy fighting for 5 spots. But so I'm going to go and give my honorable mentions in order from closest to hitting my number 5 to the lowest level of getting to hit my number 5. But I will say all these guys were very, very close other than maybe the last guy, but he still kind of deserves some recognition. So starting with my honorable mentions of the week, I got CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow, Geno Smith, Sam Howell, Russell Wilson. Could go in depth about all those guys, but that's the order that if I had to rank them 6 through 10, that's where they would have fallen in that particular order. CJ Stroud being 6, Russell Wilson being 10. But then let's get on to my actual top 5 quarterbacks of the week. So starting off, number 5, got to go back 2 weeks in a row. Josh Dobbs with the Minnesota Vikings had a 101.1 QBR, 23 of 34 for 268 yards, a touchdown in the air, 8 carries, 44 yards, and a rushing touchdown on the ground. Dobbs continues to be cold like Minnesota and is making all kinds of plays on the field with the legs. He's extending plays. I mean, it's only his second week in Minnesota. The playbook's continuing to expand. And he's starting to pull out some games that remind me of peak Russell Wilson or a prime Russell Wilson. So the stat sheet may not put him in the top 5 overall, but at the end of the day, he's doing what he can to fly high. He's got the Pasternaut nickname, and he's definitely getting the Vikings in the right direction. So going on to my number 4 quarterback of the week, I got Justin Herbert. Herbert had a 114.9 QBR, 27 of 40 for 323 yards, 4 touchdowns and the interception. Herbert was in rhythm all day and was dotting up the Lions secondary. And then the whole reason why the Lions ended up winning the game was like we talked about. It's because they didn't want to give Herbert the football. So no, I mean, Justin Herbert for that reason alone gets number 4 on my list for top 5 quarterbacks of the week. Going on to number 3, his opponent in this game, Jared Goff, 122.4 QBR, 23 of 33 for 333 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like we talked about when we talked about the Lions, Goff excels in the play action game, and pairing this with this amazing and creative offensive style and prolific run game, this offense has to be one of the best in the NFL right now. And let's see if they can continue it down the stretch. But Jared Goff, definitely the 3rd best performance of week 10. Going on to number 2, we talk about consistency. Coming in at number 2 on my list, Dak Prescott had 138.3 QBR, 26 of 35 for 404 yards, 4 touchdowns and an interception, 2 carries for 17 yards in the rushing touchdown as well. You talk about varsity versus JV, but Dak continued to carve up the Giants secondary after throwing the early interception, kind of start the game off slow. He had a perfect mix of taking what the defense gave him in zone coverage and then taking shots whenever he was given down the field. Definitely continually improving his game of football compared to what he was last year or the year before. So Dak Prescott, number 2 on my list. And finally, back in the top 5 and jumping all the way up to number 1 on my top 5 quarterback performances of the week. One of my favorite guys in the NFL right now, other than Joe Burrow, Brock Purdy. So Brock Purdy, my number 1 quarterback performance of the week. Close to that perfect quarterback rating at 148.9 QBR, 19 of 26 from 296 yards and 3 touchdowns. Purdy's ability to manipulate defenses and anticipate windows versus zone coverage is outstanding, and it reminds me a lot of what Drew Brees was able to do throughout his entire career. Purdy excelled this week in extending the pocket and giving playmakers time to get open downfield, and you pair that back with getting like Deebo Samuel and a little bit healthier Christian McCaffrey back in the lineup. And I mean, this offense has sky to the limit. And Brock Purdy definitely is like that point guard, distributing and getting things to his playmakers. So yes, maybe some of this is helped with having the playmakers that he has, but at the end of the day, you still have to be the distributor, getting it to everybody. And Brock Purdy was almost perfect this week. So Purdy was pretty good, and that's why he's my number 1 quarterback of the week. So make sure I had a lot of honorable mentions here. If you hated this list, you like the list, make sure you leave a like. If you have any disgruntled complaints, go ahead and let me know who I left out in the comments section, and we can definitely go discuss it with some film and all that other kind of stuff. But anyway, that's my top 5 quarterbacks of the 2023 Week 10 season.
Hell yeah, Justin. I had to stop AC and Kenyon over here from trying to derail you. You trooped through that.
Hey, I even raised my voice too, because at the end of the day, I'm going back after this and recording it and then edit it on TikTok. So
no doubt. Curtis, since these guys don't know you, I know you. You are very critical of Brock Purdy. So
Yeah.
what did you think as far as his performance was this week?
If you don't know, I've said that I think Brock Purdy's a pretty good game manager, and that's about it. But I watched that game. I was actually with a Raiders friend of mine. We went to the bar early. Raiders Jets fan. We went to the bar early. Caught that first game, and that opening, the first touchdown they scored with the throw to Ayuk. Brock Purdy it was a perfect play. He rolled out of the pocket. The defense was closing in on him, and he just delivered a strike right to Ayuk. It was a good pass, and then coming right back from halftime, obviously it was a little. I was on Kittle too after the run, but it was a great throw. I have to give credit when credit's due. I still think he's a game manager. My only thing is when people were going consecutive world titles there. I don't know. I'm hearing something. Going. I give credit when credit's due. I just, when people try to overhype him and be like, oh, he's Joe Montana and he's this and he's that. And it's like they were trying to say that he was better than this person and this person and this person. And I had to start naming all pros on his team. And it's like, if you put him on Chicago Bears, he wouldn't be so good. That's my only thing about Purdy. But if he continues to play good, I'll shut up. You know what I mean? I'll give him his credit. Sure. He played very well.
Well, and see, I completely agree with you. Now, I think he's becoming one of the top echelon quarterbacks in the NFL. If I were to rank him right now, he's probably still in the top 12, top 13. But no, he's a game manager, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And when you got weapons, you got to take advantage of them. So, I'm in agreement with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a question from the chat. It's from Rob, He's a faithful. He's in here all the time. He wants to know who the next head coach is that's going to get fired. I don't care, Curtis. You want to start with this? You got your finger up, man. Let's go. Who do you think?
I really want to say it's Eberflus. I want to say it is. I think the Bears need to get rid of. I know they don't want Fields. I think they need to fire him and just start with a new, fresh coach, and then draft Caleb Williams or whoever they want to draft first overall quarterback. It's pretty obvious they don't want Fields, and I think he's probably to be honest, I think I said the other day, I think he might be the worst head coach in the history of NFL. There's a couple good candidates, but he's up there as one of the worst already. So he's in over his head. But I don't think anybody really wants to take that Chicago job. There's like a curse of Lovie Smith there. You know what I mean? Like, they don't know how to draft quarterbacks well. They don't know how to bring in good marquee quarterbacks, free agents. So I just think it's like a job that, like, obviously it's a big city and there's the allure of that, and it's an old storied franchise. But I think he's the next to go, and I think he hasn't really done anything. And I think that they just should start from ground zero and just level the whole team like that.
So Eberflus for you, Kenyon. You have a Facebook user in the chat. I think I have an idea who it is, but I mean, he just wanted to let you know that what do you call it? What do the Browns and Chick-fil-A managers have in common? Neither show up for work on Sunday. Just wanted to let you know that in case you didn't know that.
We showed up. We won. We won. Hey, you wanna know who didn't win? The Bengals.
And Chris, apparently we lost him on the show, but apparently he's joined us here in the chat. He says Fields is better than Caleb Williams. I mean, Caleb hasn't played a down of professional football yet.
Out of the chat too.
Hey, Chris, come back. Chris, come back.
Keep saying bad stuff.
Chris, come back. We gotta talk about this one.
All right, Kenyon, which coach is going to get fired, you think, next? Who do you think it's going to be?
I'll go with the Browns coach as well. I don't see any upside coming from what they got going on right now
I'm not
at
supporting
this very time. So, I mean, I can't necessarily think of – yes, I can. But immediately, wait, what did I say? Them Bears. Did I say Browns?
The Bears.
Yeah, you said
Browns.
Browns.
You said Browns.
Oh.
You said Browns.
See, y'all got me flustered, bro. Everybody got me flustered. Bears.
Oh,
The
man.
Bears.
The Bears.
I love it.
Debion, how about you, my man? Who do you think is going to be the next one to get fired?
I'm going with the Bears situation too.
Bears as well. Look at that. We got three out of the six of us.
Yeah.
All right, Justin, you on the Bears hype train?
Well, if I'm putting money on it, like Chris probably would, I would probably put my money on Eberflus being fired in season. I think there's another chance that Ron Rivera might be another guy in season as well. But I think Eberflus would be gone before Rivera would. Staley, I think it's at least stay because of where the offense is at. I think you wait to the end of the year unless a substantial collapse happens. So I don't know. I just don't see with how good Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense is. I don't see Staley being fired yet. I mean, the whole Arthur Smith debate can be there too, but he's already been given a vote of confidence for 2024. So if I'm just putting my money where my mouth is, I don't know why that would be the case either. But if I'm putting my money where I think the most likely chance is, it would be Eberflus. But I could very well see Staley or Rivera get the boot at some point this season as well. A lot of it just has to come down to where's the ownership group really wanting to take things. To bring up the head coaching rumors. Apparently, there's a lot of rumors that Belichick obviously will be here through the end of the year. But Belichick's already got his system or already got his backup plan in place, and no one's saying where, but everyone's kind of pointing to the Chargers. Who knows if that would be a head coach GM role like it is in New England. But it would at least be a head coaching role that he's already basically got lined up, which then would mean obviously Staley gets fired and then Belichick would be mutually parting ways. It's just the timing of that. I don't see them doing that mid-season. And so I think that's more of an off-season thing. So that's where I would, again, go with Eberflus and the Bears.
AC, what about you, man? You have a next head coach to get fired here?
I don't really have one. I mean, I think Rivera's getting fired for sure.
I mean, I think if Washington wants to lock up Bieniemy, they have to fire Rivera before the season and lock up Bieniemy to be the head coach. I mean, otherwise Bieniemy, I think, is going to be gone. And with the way that the offense is played and with Sam Howell there, Bieniemy's been such a huge chunk of Howell's development already this year that there's got to be – you got to keep him around, in my opinion. And him not being a head coach is not going to be what keeps him around. But I I don't know, man. I think Frank Wright might get fired. Like as much as I don't necessarily believe that he deserves it per se, Tepper has fired. He's been since he's taken over the Carolina Panthers in the Charlotte FC. He has fired 3 head coaches in like 4 years. So he is not afraid to make the changes at the head coaching spot because he just fired the Charlotte FC guy too. So he is definitely not afraid to make that move. And let's face it, that offense is awful. It's dreadful in Carolina. So it is not a thing. Debian, you got somebody in the chat that wants your thoughts on your boy George Pickens.
Personally, I have a vendetta against Pickens due to a play in college, but he's a good player. I would say that. As far as his success on the field when it comes to Pittsburgh, they have it like they have this thing where he's a number 1 receiver, but I don't know. I'm just not too sure. But Pickens cool.
He's got to grow up. That's what he needs to do.
Yeah.
And Justin, apparently you are getting a fresh cut, or waiting till the season to get the fresh cut. Apparently, so somebody's not happy with your haircut.
I just got one like 2 weeks ago. Okay, yeah.
Well, apparently this Facebook user thinks you need another one. So
all right, well let me know in the comments what you want to see. For the next cut.
Curtis, braids. I told you could go ahead and I told you braids. Dreads, man.
Oh yeah, it's coming.
Yeah. No, it's coming. Yeah, I could see those hanging out the back of your helmet. Curtis, I told you could go ahead and talk about the Jets a little bit from a Jets perspective with the Raiders game. You gave thoughts a little bit earlier with the Aaron Rodgers stuff, but give us your thoughts from the Jets' perspective of the whether it's this past week or just where the season is moving forward here for you.
Well, it's just more the same with the offense, inability to score. The defense is still showing up. Special teams is still playing great, but the time of possession, both teams were literally around the same. I think the Raiders had them by a few seconds. Raiders actually had more turnovers than the Jets. Wilson did fumble, and it was actually recovered by his teammate. But they beat us by first downs and by 1. We had more yards than them. We actually sacked them more than they sacked us. So, I mean, everything seemed like it was going our way. It's just we have the worst red zone offense, and obviously we have one of the worst offenses, period, but we have the worst red zone offense, and we're like a mile away from the next team. It's like we're able to drive the ball down, run it, pass it, whatever, and as soon as we get inside that 20, it's like 1 out of every 5 drives ends in a score. That's it. So that Josh Jacobs fumble at the end of the game gave us some life, and even I think that wasn't – I didn't really think it was a fumble, but I was glad it happened. But the special teams on the Raiders, they killed us. I mean, DeAndre Carter had that 32-yard punt return. Their punter had like 3 inside the 20. He had that 60-yard punt. I mean, they had a really, really good game overall. Adams had 13 targets, only 6 catches. So I mean, our defense was playing well, and O'Connell, I almost called him Neil O'Donnell, but I mean, he don't play differently than Neil O'Donnell. He's not that good. I think he's very pedestrian as a quarterback. And he didn't really hurt us. Obviously, Jacobs got that 40-yard run, and that kind of killed us at the end of the game. And then they had that short pass to Mayer. And Breece Hall was very inefficient as a runner. I think Cook looked really good, but they only gave him the ball 4 times. And I was just scratching my head to why. Garrett Wilson did have a drop earlier in the game, but he had 14 targets, more the same, 9 catches, 93 yards. Tyler Conklin played really well. That's one thing, like we need to keep CJ Uzoma off the damn field and just let Conklin play tight end, because Uzoma with the penalties killed us. I saw there's a dude, he's like, it's like New York Jokes or something like that. It's a YouTube page. And the dude's hilarious, an old Jets fan, and he was trying to say that the refs were they wanted the Raiders to win, and how come the Raiders only were called for 3 penalties? But I mean, we just shot ourselves in the foot. We only have 1 offensive touchdown in 3 games. Greg Zuerlein's really our only person starting. We have bad drops. The last touchdown we had was a check down throw to Breece Hall that went for like 50 yards. But I will not blame this on Zach Wilson. I know he did throw that interception at the end of the game where he wasn't looking off the Spiller or Spillane. He didn't look him off, and he just threw it right to him. And that's a bad interception. And he did have the fumble, but Zach Wilson played pretty good the whole game. There's a bad play calling on the Jets coaching staff, I want to say. Zach had 54 yards rushing, and I mean, he's really efficient. If you look at the games when he does run, the Jets offense is pretty good. I feel like they're not using Wilson like skill set like the best way. I know I hate the word gunslinger, but I really feel like he is a gunslinger, and I feel like they try to make him fit into this mold of, hey, they try to make him into this game manager mold, like we just don't need you to mess up. And that's really what we don't need him to do. But he's not that type of player. Like he's not a Mac Jones, that rookie year, or he's not a Purdy or anything like that. I think he has a different skill set, and it's just not going to work out, them trying to make him into a game manager. He had a really, really good looking throw to Lazard. It was like a no-look throw. And then, he had Lazard wide open and he missed him. So, you know what I mean? I think it kind of just worked itself out. But I think like he had the intentional grounding too, where he should have just took the sack because it would have been less yards. But all in all, like I kind of killed Zach Wilson last week. But I don't want to blame him for the loss as much as I want to blame the penalties and the bad coaching. And he had a couple mistakes here and there, but really we just don't have our whole offense is bad from the offensive line. Lazard is, he's not a receiver too, in my opinion, at all. We really don't have anybody else stepping up. And then obviously we got our backup tight end. Every time there's a big play, he's getting called for a hold or a false start. So I think we really, really, really just have to we have to get back to basics. We have to look at ourselves in the mirror as coaching, look at ourselves as players, look at ourselves as an offense, because our defense and our special teams can't shoulder this load. I already heard reports that the players are already shouting at Salah just like I thought they would. He's trying to praise and give point fingers at where he can and take accountability. But I'm sure all those players on defense are very, very upset, you know what I mean, with how bad that offense is playing as a whole. They can't just say it's all Zach Wilson,
Yeah, and I've been very adamant, and let me preface this with, I was not a Zach Wilson fan coming out. I was not a big fan of his coming out. I felt the floor was way too low. But I gotta say, man, that as far as the Jets organization is concerned, I really do not feel they did this kid justice by any means. And I think Nathaniel Hackett is a hack. I don't think that he's actually a good offensive coordinator. I don't think he's a head coach. I think he rode the coattails of Peyton Manning in Denver, and I think he's still riding those coattails and whatnot. And Aaron Rodgers can say, that's my coach, and I'm happy and blah, 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 all he wants. But at the end of the day, I think Nathaniel Hackett is just not good, NFL caliber, at least in that prominent position. Now, with that being said, I agree with you. I don't blame it all on Zach Wilson either. I think they're not letting him sling it. Like, they're not letting him let loose. When he lets loose, or when they get a chance to let him improvise, he shines. That's really where he thrives. And trying to take somebody who's not a game manager and just be like, don't mess this up for us, please, is not a good coaching measure by any means, from Robert Saleh to the offensive coordinator to any of the offensive coaches that are behind that. And trying to make somebody be something that they're not, it's never going to lead to a success, and it's also going to hinder his development to wherever he does go from here on out. Instability at coaching is a big issue. You take a look at Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. He had a lot of those issues as well with having, what was it? He's in his 7th year. He's had 8 different head coaches, 9 different offensive coordinators. Like, you cannot succeed at that level. Alex Smith with San Francisco years ago as well. So I don't blame Zach Wilson, and I may be in a minority overall, but I know that Justin probably agrees that it's not all Zach Wilson's fault either.
No.
Because we've discussed this before a little bit, but maybe Robert Saleh is going to get fired. Who knows?
Yeah, and that's something that I can kind of piggyback on and say this too. I mean, I spend a lot of time with Tom House, who has coached the likes of Tom Brady and Drew Brees. And one of his biggest things, and I mean, he played Major League Baseball and all that himself. And one of his biggest things is from a mental aspect, whether you're the coach or the player, reframing has to occur. And so he tells this story about how he was playing for the Boston Red Sox, was brought in to face Ricky Chambliss, and his coach comes out and says, don't hang the curveball and let him take you deep. Well, what did that tell his mind? Don't hang the curveball and let him take you deep, because your mind doesn't censor out positive versus negative messages. It just hears don't do or do, and your body is going to naturally do what the last thing you've heard. So in a situation with Zach Wilson, if this is how Robert Saleh is going to be, he needs to learn how to reframe this. Don't make a mistake. Don't throw this interception. Be a game manager and turn this into, okay, I, Zach Wilson, have to go out and be Zach Wilson. Do whatever makes me Zach Wilson and got me to this level. And so it has to take a reframing. And if he can't reframe, then unfortunately, then you're out of the league. Or there has to be reframing on the coach's standpoint, which I think is probably the easier route to go, where you have to, in a way, KYP, know your personnel, to be able to then talk to Zach Wilson and treat Zach Wilson the way that he deserves to be treated, and in a way that's going to get the most out of him, and that's a coach's job. And so I don't think Saleh gets fired, but I do think there needs to be introspective looking on both sides and figure out how they can continue to grow from this. And I think I've said this for a while. I think Zach Wilson is very Aaron Rodgers-like. And so you need to treat them like they're both Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, AC, was that a clear throat because of what Justin said, or was that a clear throat because you just needed to clear your throat? Like,
I just needed to clear my throat.
that's all it was. All right.
I don't really have too much of an opinion on that. I wish I never fired. I wish
Aaron Rodgers, but I think there's very similarities in how they play the game.
It was just a timing thing. I mean,
I feel like Rex Ryan should be the Jets coach. I always.
You think Rex Ryan should always be the head coach? You think he should always be the?
I mean, I think he should be in the Tomlin type deal, the Coughlin type deal. Like, you kind of don't appreciate what you had, so you don't have it anymore. Rex Ryan had them going to the playoffs. That's the last time they were a predominant playoff team. They haven't been that in a long time.
With butt fumble.
But I also agree it's one of those situations where you don't put a rookie quarterback in a position have to take over a whole team. He needs a chance to sit and get tutelage. You know, just like Zach Wilson, just like Mark Sanchez. You know, like that's a hard thing to do. Like all the great quarterbacks really had a chance.
Sam Darnold
struggled.
Sam Darnold.
Yeah, like they struggle or they have a chance to sit, and Rodgers could sit. Tom Brady could sit. You know what I'm saying? Drew Brees. He came in and kind of struggled. Mahomes did get to sit. Like, so it's kind of like even Peyton Manning struggled his first year. You know, he happened to have a good running game, but he struggled. You know what I mean? So it's hard to ask a player to take over. You know, and at that position, you know, a rookie player, like that's the hard thing. You rarely see that.
Well, I mean, I think in general, it's just the stability, the coaching stability plays a big factor into it. Debian, one of the things that we are seeing right now in Houston is CJ Stroud coming in and playing at a rookie level that is higher than pretty much anything that we've ever seen before. You have a head coach down there. It looks like, you know, unless he gets a head coaching job, you have an offensive coordinator that's going to be there for at least a 2-year window for CJ Stroud, which is, you know, fantastic. But the stability is going to be important for CJ Stroud's development. How do you see that factoring in with how Houston moves forward, not, you know, in building their team here moving forward?
Or coaching?
Well, just coaching in general, because it feels like you found your quarterback, obviously.
Yeah.
Like with CJ Stroud. So the coaching aspect of it, we're talking about the stability of coaches versus the stability of at that quarterback position for their development. Like Justin Fields is actually another guy in Chicago that we're seeing a lot of, you know, turnover with it. You have an offensive coordinator down there that's young, that's not really well known, but is known. He's really well respected. and Slowick, right? It's Bobby Slowick that's down there. I think his name is, and he's got to be a possible head coaching candidate. But what's the Houston? What do you think Houston is going to do to be able to counteract if they lose Slowick to be able to stop CJ Stroud from hitting that wall?
I believe it's one for the first part is putting the right players around him, and that's from all across the board, whether that's the O line, the receiving core, or the running backs. I think it first starts there, and then you can also put the coaching factor. You said the coach will be there for around 2 years or so.
Roughly, I would put Slowick in there for another year. I don't think he gets a head coaching job just yet, but I think he's right around the corner. He might get one.
Yeah, so I feel like you just have to look at him and see if he's the right coach for the fit of the system, just to see how things wanted to go in the future. Because Stroud is the future quarterback. He's one of those generational talents that, as long as you put something around him, he's going to do what he needs to do as a player. So we'll just have to see how the coaching part plays out.
I think you need to keep those 3 wide receivers around. Is what I think you need to do.
Definitely.
Noah Brown is starting to really come into his own. Kenyon, your Browns have been the definition of unstable. I mean, let's put it that way, but big contract to Deshaun Watson, somehow still building a great defense. You got a decent head coach. Maybe you guys finally get out of this situation, or is it just a one and done deal for you here?
There is absolutely no way, in my mind and heart, and this is just a one and done. There's no way.
It's one and done.
There's no way it's a one and done. There's no way.
Oh, there's no way it's a one and done.
No way.
Oh,
no way.
I thought your confidence level with the Browns was about as high as my confidence with the Commanders are. So,
man, no, I actually have true confidence. But
that AFC North.
We all know it's tough. We just need to figure out this lack.
Commanders way better than the Browns.
Hush.
Kenyon, you let him get to you, man.
Man, bro, that was horrible. The Commanders, like we deserve more respect than that.
Whoa! What's that supposed to mean?
I'm sorry, but we're better than
you. We are not. Y'all ain't been good since the 50s.
Killing me. When was the last time y'all won your division?
We're talking about the now. We're talking about the now. And
there
now,
won't be a time. They have no chance to win the division.
I'm gonna have to put some. Well, no, I ain't gonna do that.
It's the small victories.
Hey, we gotta win every week. We gotta win day by day. Ain't that what Coach always told you? Win the day. We won the day.
Not my coach.
If it's from a touchdown to 3 points.
Hey, we don't do participation trophies over here, bro.
Speaking of participation trophies, the Cincinnati Bengals they got one this past weekend. What has happened? What has happened to Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard? Like, where have they go?
First of all, it's not a whooping. Hubbard's hurt. I don't know what Hendrickson got going on. But God, dog, if Tyler Boyd decides he wants to be a professional this week, we're in a much different situation. Like, I don't understand. But how do you drop it? I don't know. They pay these guys millions to do these things. I don't get it. And then as soon as you drop it, your hands go to your head before you even hit the ground. I don't understand.
Deep thoughts from Alex about the Cincinnati Bengals. That's going to be a segment.
I know what it's like to be a Brown, though. You know what I mean? That one moment embodies. That one moment, like your hopes is like, oh snap.
The Cincinnati Browns over there.
Like,
hey, we figure it out as long as we go. We don't get it right. Why?
This is entertaining. This is entertaining. Bengals.
I mean, I just feel like every year. I know a lot of Browns fans, and I'm sure he feels this way too. He can't deny it. It's like, did y'all celebrate when they announced 17 weeks? You're like, man, we get another game, but you're not gonna go nowhere.
Hey,
we got another one. Look. But y'all ain't going nowhere after that.
We gonna go somewhere this year.
16
That's
games.
all I know. That's all
Well,
I
I
know.
mean, to be fair, Kenyon, it looks like it looks good right now, but that's going to be tough coming out of that division to make that playoff. So
Look,
Y'all the
I'm
only
taking
NFL
it
team that has a yard sale.
Who has a yard sale? All right. I can't even say too much about you because Joe Burrow, but hey, y'all got it. But y'all
Yeah,
falling
leave Joe
apart at the seams though. Y'all falling apart. Y'all are falling apart. Y'all look like a bad baseball. Y'all falling apart at the seams.
I mean, I'd rather have issues than be falling apart for 4 decades.
Hey, we're getting it together. We're doing some repostering. Is that what we call it?
Man. Y'all are the Joe Biden of the NFL.
Joe Biden. Hardy, har. Look here.
Hardy, har, he says. Justin, the Minnesota
Y'all
Vikings.
win. Y'all be a good team when they forgive all these student loans they keep talking about.
All right. Hey, Biden gonna be calling your phone real soon.
Hey, probably will.
Justin, the Minnesota Vikings, man. Josh Dobbs once again, pure magic up there in Minnesota. Or was it up in Minnesota? Yeah, you
Yeah, it
played
was in
Atlanta this week.
Minnesota.
It was in Minnesota this week. Okay,
Yep.
that's right. You played the Saints
First
this
home
week.
game.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Magic again, man. I mean, rocket scientist though, right?
Yeah,
we're talking
no.
NASA.
I mean, before I talk about the Vikings, though, I'll make one comment about the Bengals Texans game.
Oh man, here we go.
To me, that game does feel like another one. Now, granted, Josh Allen played the way that he played, so we've already had that discussion. But that game felt like if CJ Stroud continues to play well and continues to prove people wrong and continues to make adjustments with people having film on him, that could very well be another one of those Burrow Mahomes games, Mahomes Allen games, like one of those kind of typical shootouts that guys are always going to circle on Sunday. It just screams one of those games to me. Cincinnati could have easily won that game too, but it's one of those games that I think it's going to be one that people will circle for either postseason or regular season every single year, especially if quarterback play continues the way that it's shown from both quarterbacks. But anyway, on to the Vikings. So, no, I mean, defense continues to play pretty well. I would like them to finish a little bit better. They kind of let Alvin Kamara, Jameis Winston, and the Saints kind of get back into it after Carr got hurt. But no, I mean, the defense, especially in the first half, were pulling some nice different zone blitz schemes and getting to Carr and forcing incomplete passes, sacks, things like that. Now, obviously, they need to continue to tighten up the run defense. I mean, Alvin Kamara had 5 touchdowns against the Vikings, I believe, a year or two ago. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I'm probably going to give up 3 or 4 to Alvin Kamara. But they did better, but they need to continue to tighten up the run defense if they really want to make a run in the postseason. I mean, Josh Dobbs is the athletic version of what a quarterback can do in the Kevin O'Connell offense. He's just as smart as Kirk Cousins, gets the offense in right situations, and then he's making amazing plays with his feet. And there's nuances of the game that when I sit down and watch all 22 film and stuff on him, little nuances of the game of if he's throwing to the left, he angles his drop to the right so that he can set his feet and cheat with his feet to make sure he gets that perfect throw to the left without throwing his body out of whack and throwing his mechanics out of whack. It's just little nuances of the game that not many quarterbacks do that Dobbs is doing really well right now. Now, granted, I'm jealous because Kevin O'Connell's a guy that I'd love to be playing for, but the fact that I know the guy too, I'm happy that Dobbs is doing what he's doing. Run game didn't really seem to fall off. Madison, I thought it was going to be a drop-down week now that Cam Akers is done, but Madison played pretty well. Ty Chandler stepped in, played really well. And, hey, I got to give it to the Saints too. Those 2 touchdowns to Olave and Perry were some head tops to be sure. And so those are some really nice catches, some really nice contested catches. And hey, Jameis came in and moved the ball, so I'll credit to Jameis there too. But Vikings got another win. They're 6-4 now. I still there's part of me that says, hey, if they can really truly get on a run, maybe they can contend. But then seeing how the Lions played this week against the Chargers, I think the division's out of reach. But with how the NFC is, I think they're definitely a team on the inside looking for a postseason berth, and maybe they can make an upset or two. But I don't think this is a year that Minnesota finally gets that first Super Bowl. But hey, they're making a Viking season normal, so I'm ready for the collapse in Week 15. So, but then moving on to my hometown team, the other team that I support, the Falcons. You lose to the 1-8 Cardinals. Arthur Smith's, I think, the reason for the loss. But at the end of the day, I know you have your feelings towards Kyler Murray there, Mike. But I think what hurt Atlanta's defense was the speed that Kyler Murray brings compared to a Clayton Tune and things like that. I mean, they couldn't contain him. And Arthur Smith's definitely on the hot seat, or I say that, and then he's given all the before. But I do think Ritter needs to be the answer, at least for the foreseeable future, or at least for the foreseeable future of this season. I don't like the quarterback situation in Atlanta. Would love to go fill it, but
you should.
The play calling and sequencing was better, especially in the first half, getting Bijan involved multiple different ways, and you just couldn't stop big plays on defense because of the abundance of speed that they have on offense, and that's what can make the Cardinals dangerous, regardless of them being 2-8. And I know we talked about this last week, but bringing Kyler Murray back into the fold could very well hurt their chances at a high draft pick. So
that's my only reason why.
That's Arizona Cardinals for you. That's why they're probably the most mediocrity and poverty franchise in the history of the NFL. So,
and that's literally the only
this team right here.
That's literally the only reason why it's not my personal feelings on Murray as a quarterback. It's just literally the only thought process that I have is it just the situation. It just doesn't make sense to have him come back at this particular moment in time. That's all.
Because if they play the way that they did against the Falcons, I could very well see them ending the season with 5 or 6 wins, and
they end up getting like an 8th, 9th pick, and then they don't even end up somewhere near the top, even though they have another first-round pick. But that other first-round pick is Houston, which it looks like that's going to be mid-teens. So I mean, you're not helping your team out at all in that situation. And with that cap issue next year, because it's way worse next year with Kyler's contract, it's going to be hard to build anything around him. Even if you draft good, you have to hit on all your draft picks at that point in time. So I mean, Murray's great in the open field. Speed kills. We all see it. I mean, in the open field, he's electric. He's an absolute electric player. Don't necessarily like him as a quarterback per se. Don't know if he's a franchise guy, but I mean, he'll
always be a franchise guy in fantasy. As
he's a playmaker. I mean, that's what he does. Yeah. He's a playmaker. So I mean, and for the Commanders, man, fire Del Rio already. That's all I got to say. Because I mean, it's literally at this point in time, it's fucking defense, and I have nothing else to say about that. Just fire Jack Del Rio. I'm done with it. Just fire his ass. It's not worth it to me. That's it, man. I don't got anything else. I don't know if anybody has anything they want to throw out here to close. Justin, if not, you can swing into our little closing thing, man. But
yeah, I mean, if anybody has anything to say, go ahead and say it now. If not, I might say a quick little thing about the Patriots situation.
Yeah, that's right. You wanted to talk about the Mac Jones situation and Chris Brown. So talk about that real quick.
Is Chris gonna come back? Because we need him here for this.
No, he's gone. Yeah, I mean, he might be listening, but he's gone. He dropped the mic and was like, "I'm." Oh, real quick before you do it, breaking news. Oregon State and Washington State were granted sole control of the Pac-12 by the board of directors today. So just to let you know that they are the Pac-2 apparently now.
They are the Pac-2.
Full control.
And the Mountain West will probably go explode now.
So now it's going to be the Mountain West 12 now.
Yeah, the Mountain West 12. But no, I mean, you look at the Patriots, and I know Chris is going to have his takes. I just think there's so many issues with the New England Patriots. I mean, first off, there truly is a lack of talent there. You can't win games when you do not have talent up front. You do not have talent in your front seven, really, on defense. You don't have receivers to throw to other than Kendrick Bourne, who I believe is still on IR. You have 2 solid running backs, but again, if nobody's there to block, you can't really do anything. So you don't have any healthy, reliable options at receiver. Offensive line can't pass protect to save their lives. The Colts consistently brought 4. And Deb knows this pretty well, playing DB and playing DB at where he's played. Like, it's easier to play defense when you know you can bring 4 and you're still getting 5-6 sacks a game. And that helps you play defensive back. You knows if you get beat, hey, it saves you because your guys are getting to the quarterback, and it saves you out of plays like that. But I mean, they consistently brought 4. Mac Jones didn't even have the 2.5 to 3 seconds to throw half the time. And so the answer to this is obviously kind of play calling. Like, you need to be able to get Ramondre Stevenson and Zeke in the run game even more, to then maybe you start Jared Goffing it and work off the play action game. But at the end of the day, what makes Max successful is getting the ball out of his hands quick game, mesh concepts against man coverage. I mean, you've got to get the ball out of his hands quickly, but they're not really doing that. And so the problem with this is you become too one-dimensional, and defenses are now are just keying up to stop you even greater, because you know the tendencies of what you're going to go with, and then you know you have nothing to do to answer anything you have. So, but what this then kind of leads to, and this is where, like, it would be nice if Chris had the screenshots, whatever, to pull up, but at this point, I think Max lost all of his confidence. Like we talk about the situation with Zach Wilson. You have the entire organization already putting pressure on Mac Jones going into this year, saying this is your one shot to prove why you deserve a contract extension, very similar to Daniel Jones of last year. But this is your one chance to prove that you can be a franchise quarterback and you can get a contract extension. So there's pressure there. There's pressure from just New England fans in general because they're a consistent winner, or they have been the last 2 decades. And so they expect to be there. And then you're not given any talent. They haven't drafted well. I even saw a statistic the other day or today or whatever, when they cut one of their defensive backs, that you look at their 2022 draft class, and
it's
every
awful.
single guy in that class now has been cut and either re-signed or traded. They're no longer on the team or whatever. Other than Zappy, who again was cut and then brought back on practice squad, elevated, and all that other kind of stuff.
And Cole Strange, who the Rams thought was going to be there in the 6th round, 5th round or whatever. He's a starter, but they're ranked dead last in pass rush win rate. Yep. So, I mean, that's just a miserable pick at this point.
Yeah. And so, but all of this affects Mac Jones's confidence. It forces him to force too much. He tries to make plays. And this reminds me so much of the 2021 Atlanta Falcons and Matt Ryan, where Matt can't do anything when he's sitting on his butt. I mean, he's getting hit too much. He's getting sacked too much. He doesn't have anybody to rely on in the pass game. And so that's where it would be nice to then pull up the 2nd and 12 play that he threw the quote unquote horrible interception, where people say, I could throw a better 4-yard pass down the field, and all this other kind of stuff, and all that. But you look and break down the play, they're playing cover 1. And technically the linebacker's a whole player, and it turns into man coverage because of the play action fake and then the release by Zeke Elliott into the flat. There's not enough time for him to reset his feet, Mac to reset his feet and hit the flat route, which would have been open for a 5 or 6 yard game. Ideally, that's what would happen. But at the end of the day, they called a 4 verticals concept out of a trips left. Your safety, your single high safety is going to key on number 3, knowing that he's got knowing that he's already got man-on-man coverage there. But so you, in a way, double. But at the end of the day, the play-action fake still sucked the safety in to where the only chance that you truly had was that number 3 receiver in the back corner of the end zone. So where he threw the ball, good decision on technically where you throw the ball. But then you continue to move forward into the progression of the play and watch the film. Yeah, you have a Colts defender that's already maybe within 2 or 3 steps of him at that point, but he's falling back to make a throw. He's not stepping into the throw, and that's what causes the quote-unquote 4-yard pass that looks like a terrible interception, when at the end of the day, your outside receiver, who's single coverage, no safety help, fade to the end zone from the 15-yard line. like that guy's got to win. And if he doesn't win, you still have a good option with your number 3 coming across the field on the clear out to the back pylon, and you just got to be able to put it up back pylon. But this is where you start seeing the lack of confidence that Mac Jones has and trying to force things, where he's forcing himself to fall backwards, trying to make a throw that athletically he truly can't make 95% of the time. And it ends in an interception that was very costly in the game. And I don't think that's necessarily a knock on Mac Jones's talent. I think it's just a perfect example of a quarterback that's lost confidence, a quarterback that's being put too much pressure on to be something that he's not. And I mean, it's culminating into it's probably going to be his career.
Justin, he's shaving points. Stop it.
Curtis,
Stop what you're doing. Everybody stop. Everybody on this screen could make that throw. Come on, man. Like, look, you have me.
No, I know I can make that throw off my back foot too, but I also know what it feels like when nothing's going right and I'm pressing. I know what that feels like too.
I do too, but come on, man. That was like a 10-yard throw. You cannot be in the league and not be able to make a 10-yard throw. He probably could have threw that with his left hand. Did you see that throw?
I've watched it multiple times.
I mean, Curtis and I, we talked about this. We talked about this in the chat too. You know, like I mean, we discussed it.
I've never used the word abysmal, but I'm going to use it now. That was abysmal. Did you see that throw?
It's a bad mistake, and it's a bad throw.
That's the worst throw in the history of the Patriots. It has to be.
It's probably up there.
Look, I was on Mac's side. I can't be. Like, when I seen that, I think I wrote it in the chat. I literally threw a dumbbell.
You did. Yeah, you said that.
I literally threw a dumbbell. I was at the gym. My parlay was hitting. He did that. I'm like, hold on, bro.
Well, hey, I got a social media thing for me now. Good idea. I guess what I'll do tomorrow after I throw, I'll go recreate that throw and have myself falling back and still be able to make that.
Where are you going to do it? In a garage?
Yeah.
Where are you going to recreate it at?
Backyard? I'm on a field throwing with receivers and stuff. So, hey, we can recreate it right there.
The field. That's the point. You can throw it in the driveway.
Yeah, you can throw it in the driveway. Yeah, either way.
That's how short it was.
Yeah.
Damn, nah, I can't
like these
go.
stickers recreating kicks. I'll go recreate.
Literally, Bill Belichick could have threw that pass.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Pete Carroll could have threw that pass.
Did you see what he did?
Oh, I could have made that pass, and I'm way not even close to being in shape to be able to make throws, man. Like,
you know how many broken electronics he probably caused?
Oh, he probably caused a lot. I mean, I live in New England. Man. I think I heard everybody. I mean, you know. I mean,
it's a shame.
Like Curtis, like Curtis and I, we were talking about it when it happened. Like, we were talking about the Patriots as a whole when the whole thing happened. Like, I mean, they wasted money on Juju Smith-Schuster. The one bright spot they have is DeMario at Douglas. You know, like
Pop Douglas.
Yeah, Pop Douglas. I mean, you know, Ezekiel Elliott's way past his prime. I mean, still a really good running back, still can contribute to a team. They don't have a tight end worth a damn on that roster. I mean, I know that Curtis wanted Hunter Henry for his team, but I mean, for his fantasy team, but I mean, let's face it, you know, and I can't even name some of the guys. I mean, Tyquan Thornton has like 12 career catches.
Why are they not throwing to Mike Gesicki? Gesicki's like a receiver. Mike Gesicki's like a receiver, and they don't.
That's who that ball was going to, wasn't it?
Well,
yeah.
I mean, maybe by accident. Who knows where it was going to?
I just think it's funny you let go of Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers is doing pretty well.
He balled out. He balled out for the Raiders.
You paid Juju the same contract that he got it with the Raiders.
I'm not gonna say that it was a bad move. I feel like you got all the same guys, like Devontae, Juju. You got all the same dudes.
Oh yeah, I forgot Devontae Parker was there. Yeah, he's a waste of space.
Yeah, he's always hurt, man. He's always hurt. And they let go of Aguilar. You know, they try to. I guess Juju was like the replacement for Aguilar, but it couldn't happen to a worse franchise in my opinion. Listen, I grew up. They had Drew Bledsoe, then they had Tom Brady. And then that first season with Mac Jones, that's how I met Sam, was Mac Jones' rookie season. The same thing I was saying about Brock Purdy, I was saying the same thing about Mac Jones. I was like, Patriots had a top 5 run offense. They had a top 5 defense that year. And I said he threw the ball less times than they attempted to run the ball. I said he's not winning games for them at all. I said it's the same thing Dak Prescott did his rookie season. And everybody was like, oh, everybody said Dak Prescott was the best rookie quarterback ever. And all Dak Prescott was doing was hand the ball off to Zeke Elliott and throwing touchdowns when teams were tired. You know what I mean? Like that's a scheme that teams can run to make a game manager quarterback play well. And the Patriots did it good. Dallas did it good with Dak. The 49ers have been doing it well, but like Mac he's not that good of a quarterback. And I kept saying that, and people were like, oh, you're just a Jets you fan and you're a hater. I'm like, I'm just being honest. Like, but I'm sure I'm a hater, but I hate the Patriots. I love seeing them fail. I don't like Bill Belichick.
I think him and Jameis are pretty similar too.
I think Bill Belichick should have stopped being a GM 10 years ago. If he's not drafting a lacrosse player or taking somebody that was on Miami's practice squad that he saw in a practice that was really good against him, he doesn't know how to pick players anymore. I mean, look at the receivers he's drafted.
Oh, just look at any player he's drafted for the most part. Like, I mean, none of the guys that he's drafted, man, has really been, he's found some gems late, but overall, like these early picks, man, outside of maybe Kyle Duggar, who was a Division 3 guy, or Division 2 guy or whatever, like, none of them have really even panned out the way that I think anybody expected them to. Like, I live in New England, from Maine, Curtis. Like, I mean, I get it, man. Patriots fans here. I tell them all the time, like, Tom Brady, and it's not a knock on Tom Brady, but Tom Brady is the greatest system quarterback to ever play the game. Like, because he played within a system, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you saw it in Tampa Bay, like when he didn't have that system, the first 7 games or whatever before that bye week with Tampa Bay were miserable with Byron Leftwich as his offensive coordinator. They spent that bye week implementing and taking the best plays that Brady loved from that New England offense and implementing it and putting it in to the Tampa Bay offense, and that's when they took off and went on to the Super Bowl. So it's like, it's not a knock on Brady. It's just that's what they need, and Mac isn't able to do with what they have because Belichick is still trying to put players that aren't as talented around Mac, where Brady was able to elevate them in that system, and Mac can't do that. Like, and again, it's not a knock on Mac. It's a very hard shoes to fill coming from Brady to Mac, but Mac is not that kind of quarterback. He can't elevate the players around him. It's the same thing that happened to Alabama. Alabama didn't win because of Mac Jones. They won because of the talent around Mac. Right. Like, Mac didn't elevate anybody. It was
I
the
think
other
that's
way around.
why, like, when you look at their teams, like I said it about the Steelers. I said it about not the Packers, but definitely the Steelers and the Patriots. They're going to have a hangover, right, for at least a few years, because those type of quarterbacks were in a unique situation. That yes, they are system guys, but it's their system. Like, it utilizes their strengths. It plays to their strengths, and it evades their weaknesses. It's kind of like, I don't know, like the Philadelphia Soul when they had Dan Rottenball. Philadelphia was the only team that had a average play of under, I think it was 2.3 seconds. Not everyone can do that. He can just do that because they had a backup quarterback that he played in the CFL. I forget his name. He's a lefty though. He couldn't accomplish the same things, but it played to his strengths. It's the same thing with Tom Brady. It's the same thing with Big Ben. Ben is the best extender of the play, probably to play. That quarterback. That system fits him. So your average play that goes for however long, he can extend it. Guys uncover. He makes big plays. But I don't think he's a guy that elevates the people around him. I think he has great talent, and the system works for him. And they just keep finding guys that plug in.
Yeah, and that's ultimately at the end of the day what that is. All right, I don't have anything else.
No,
Justin,
that was it.
That was it for you as well. I mean, that's good. Do you want to go ahead and swing us to the outro, Justin? I mean, you love it, so I mean.
Yeah, well, I'm just used to doing it, but
you got it.
Yeah,
you got it.
I mean,
you got it. It's your thing, man.
Yeah. Well, so that's all we got for the Week 10 episode of the Goal Line Stand. If you like this episode and want to continue to see more of it, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell notification, hit the like button if you liked it. You can smash it, you can click it, you can do whatever you want to do to that like button, but make sure you hit that thing. And then send us your questions. We always are down to answer any of the questions on air. AC brought up a good question today about consistency versus being a slave to the moment. So, hey, if you want anything, we're all players here. We played at some pretty high levels. So if you want to talk about any of it or talk about any storyline in the NFL, make sure you leave those comments and we'll get to them next week. But with that being said, that's the Goal Line Stand.
I'm a game changer.